Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is your teacher Said Imran, lecturer, Department of English, kust. Courses Research Methods in Linguistics. And the course code is ENG 382. This is lecture 11, video 1. And the topic which we will discuss today is qualitative research approaches. In the start, I would like to give you the lecture outline, which includes the philosophical assumptions behind qualitative approaches, qualitative research practices, some key features of qualitative research, and then in the end, I will discuss qualitative research strategies. So first of all, let's start with what we mean by philosophical assumptions. Let me recall you first of all that we have had a lecture on research philosophies where we have discussed the positivist and phenomenologist assumptions for research. So here we are focusing on what are the philosophical assumptions behind qualitative research approaches. These assumptions, they are working in the background, they underlying various research methods. Sometimes they are called the worldviews, sometimes they are called paradigms, or the way you are looking at the things. They consist of certain beliefs and values and traditions which drive research methods while they are conducted. So, as against positivist or post-positivist paradigm or assumptions which are mainly used for quantitative research approaches, which we will discuss in another lecture. Here the focus is on constructivist or transformative. Remember, the philosophical assumptions behind qualitative researches are that they are constructivist in nature, they are transformative, they are meant to transform, and they believe in constructing reality. So let's see in detail what are some of the features or characteristics which we attach with the philosophical assumptions meant for qualitative approaches. So first of all, you see, humans construct their own meaning. As against quantitative research approaches, the assumption here is that human beings construct their own reality. They interpret reality and they co-construct and they then generate meanings, human interaction. They also believe that social situations and the processes behind it. They believe that meanings can be found in social situations, and those social situations are handled through interpretive processes. Like interpretation is there, explanation is there. Similarly, behavior or data They are socially situated and they are termed as context related, context specific. In the context, social context, data or behaviors can be found. And in order to understand a situation, we need to understand the context in which something occurs, because situations affect behavior and perspective and vice versa. The next feature is reality constructed and multiple. Here, when we say reality is constructed, according to these assumptions for qualitative research approaches, that realities are multiple. They are multiple and they are constructed and they are holistic. They are attached and linked with each other in a situation. Knower and known are inseparable. Knower and known, it means the researcher and the researched ones. Like the researcher as a person and the phenomena or human beings he is conducting research on, they are interacting. They are not, cannot be separated. Rather, this interaction and codependence of the knower and the known, the researcher and the researched ones, it leads to the construction of meaning, construction of reality, rather multiple realities. Similarly, they believe in that every type of inquiry or research is value laden. Every type of inquiry or research is value laden. It's not value free, as is the case in quantitative researches. Because researcher himself or herself brings value, certain ideologies, certain perspectives, personal values in likes and dislikes to the research. Therefore, researchers are influenced, they are highly influenced by the person who is doing research. And such values, they are reflected in the selection of a research problem, the type of problem a researcher would pick, the way he or she is evaluating that problem for research purposes, and the kind of policy he or she wants to feed it into. So all these things reflect a greater amount of subjectivity. Similarly, research is also influenced by the choice of the paradigm, whether you are taking constructivist paradigm, transformative, or post-positivist paradigm. It also reflects the personal choices of the researcher. And this decision or this choice then also guides the investigation towards the problem. Qualitative researches are also supposed to be thick in its description. Thick in its description. So it is value laden. And similarly, when we are talking about its being value laden, it is the researcher who is responsible for offering a thick description containing explanations and interpretation and validating the findings against the data. So it's different from the practices of quantitative approaches, where it's completely objective and impartial. So therefore, social research or educational research needs to examine situation through the eyes of the participants. In the world of social sciences or education or applied linguistics, such a research is needed where perspectives of the participants are taken into account, where it reports the multiple perspective, where it bases its research on the reality which is co-constructed, which is situated. Now, whenever it comes to qualitative research, we should understand that if there is a concept or an issue which should be explored and understood, because little research is conducted on it, then it demands a qualitative approach. Because here you are not concerned with verifying or confirming, disconfirming a theory or testing a theory, or you are looking for a causal relationship, cause and effect relationship. Rather, the topic or concept or the problem has not been explored or not sufficiently explored, and more understanding is needed. Therefore, such a problem or issue would require a qualitative approach. And such an approach is also useful when the researcher does not uh, know the important variables to examine. The important variables, what to examine and what not to examine. Just like, unlike the quantitative approach where variables are already determined. So there are dependent variables and there are independent variables in quantitative, which is not the case here in qualitative research. Here the researcher is unaware of what to study and what to examine, what to focus on. So therefore, it means when the topic is new, the subject has never been addressed or never been addressed sufficiently, or with a certain sample or group of people. And when the current or existing theories, they do not apply to the particular sample or group under study. So then in such cases, you really need to apply qualitative research approach. Now, let's see what are some of the practices of research which qualitative researchers follow. First of all, position himself or herself, collects participants' meanings, focus on single concept or phenomena, brings personal values to the study, studies the context or setting of participants, validates the accuracy of findings, makes interpretations of the data, and creates an agenda for change or reform. Now, if you see, these are some of the commonly followed practices by the qualitative researchers. First of all, remember, unlike quantitative researchers, where they try their best to stay impartial, objective, because their assumption is that it would contaminate the data. Here, in sharp contrast, qualitative researchers, they take a position. They position himself or herself as a researcher, since they bring their own ideologies, their own perspectives, their own agenda rather, to the investigation. And they are uh, quite expressive about it. They state it explicitly. Similarly, here the practice is that more focuses on participant meanings. Unlike the quantitative researchers who think that the researchers should stay aloof or should stay objective, the qualitative researchers collect data from participant meaning because they interact, they negotiate meaning with the participants. So the focus is on the meaning which participants offer. And another point is they focus on a single concept or a phenomena. Generally, usually the qualitative researchers, they start with a single idea, a single concept, an issue or a concern. And as the study advances, progresses, many more things they emerge and the study extends, but they start with a single idea or single concept. And that's why it is called emerging design as well. Emerging design. They also brings values to the study. Yes. The context or setting of the participants is very important. It contributes towards data, rather it interacts with the way reality is constructed. And it is the task of the researchers to verify how far the findings are accurate against the data collected. And then they are interpreting the data and they create an agenda for change or reform. As we have discussed here, position themselves. So they are quite explicit, they are quite open about the kind of agenda they have and what kind of change or reform they would like to generate or introduce through their research. And lastly, their collaboration with the participants is very important. Their collaboration with the participants is very important. Now, let's see what are some of the key features of qualitative approaches. Rigorous procedures and multiple methods, qualitative research assumptions, single focus issue rather than hypothesis, evolving design, multiple realities, researchers as instrument of data collection, rigorous approach to data collection, analysis, and reporting, emergence of themes and sub-themes, and lastly, writing helps readers to experience being there. Now, let's see first of all what we mean by rigorous procedures and what we mean by rigorous procedures and multiple methods. It means that one of the basic underlying assumptions of qualitative research approaches is that it believes in a rigorous, painstaking approach towards research. And the research procedures are accordingly carried out where every bit of care is taken to verify the data. And then similarly, in the interpretation of data, care is taken. It is rigorous, providing thick description, and multi-methods are applied or employed. Like a study, qualitative study, might include interviews coupled with observations, or sometimes documents analysis as well. And remember that they follow strictly the qualitative assumptions. The philosophical assumptions working in the background, they inform how the study design should be developed, how it should be operationalized. Because when we are talking about the underlying assumptions and principles, they believe in evolving design, the presentation of multiple realities. The researcher is an instrument of data collection. Instead of being detached from data, as is the case in quantitative research, here the researcher is openly claiming to be an instrument of data collection, affecting and impacting the way data is collected and later on interpreted as well as reported, and a focus on participants' views. Then when we are talking about single ideas, single focus or issue rather than hypothesis, it means that usually the qualitative research start with a single idea or problem that the researcher would like to comprehend and understand. Relationships or comparisons might emerge later in the study. Unlike the quantitative, where this relationship, causal relationship, is established uh, before the study starts in the initial phase, and the task of the researcher would be just to verify, confirm, or disconfirm. Here, such type of relationships or comparisons, they might emerge later in the study. Similarly, when we are talking about evolving design, it means that the design is not fixed as is the case in quantitative research. The design evolves. It is called a flexible design. So it means that a rigorous approach to data collection, analysis, and report writing is followed. And it is the researcher who is accountable for confirming the accuracy of the accounts given. Multiple realities are presented. Yes, multiple realities and multiple themes are emerged, and then they are synchronized at different levels of abstraction. Data are analyzed using multiple levels of abstraction. Usually, researchers present their studies in stages. Multiple themes, they are combined into larger themes or perspectives, or layer their analysis from particular to the general. Researcher being an instrument of data collection, yes, rigorous approach we have already discussed towards data collection, analysis, and report writing, the emergence of themes and sub-themes, and lastly, uh, it is the responsibility of the researcher to present writing lucid, appealing, in order to help the readers to experience being there. It is the responsibility of the researcher, qualitative researcher, to present or write in a way to help the reader to experience being there with the researcher. So the story and findings becomes believable and realistic and accurately reflecting the complexity of uh, real life. Some of the qualitative strategies are the qualitative strategies or the traditions which are followed in by qualitative researchers are phenomenology, grounded theory, ethnography, case study, and narrative. We will discuss these qualitative research studies, research strategies in detail in the next video lecture. Couple of references are Creswell and Cohen. Thank you.